Okay, GFCI, ground fault circuit interrupt, or sometimes you just hear it called GFI, ground fault interrupt. This is a device that's found either in an outlet or in the plug of certain devices, such as hair dryers. So sometimes you'll have a plug that'll have GFI, and sometimes you'll actually have an outlet. The GFCI is often used in areas that are prone to be, well, where do you find your GFCI usually? GFCI looks like this. Where do you usually find those? You usually find them outside, like on your garage or carport or whatever. And then you also will find them in your bathrooms. So these are often used in areas that are prone to be wet, such as garages and bathrooms. The GFCI consists of a very sensitive ammeter. And if the current, the output current, exceeds the input current, and the GFCI will be turned off in a millisecond or less, which is less than the amount of time required to actually provide injury. So you have this very sensitive ammeter, and it turns off if the current in exceeds the current out. So let's imagine this, that I have this device. I have two wires coming into it. These are the two wires coming from the plug. All right, I have a current in, and I have a current out. This is the hot wire. This is the neutral wire. Current in, current out. I'm not drawing the third prong here. Now, what would be the case? I'm sorry, I've drawn this, I've written this incorrectly. I in is greater than I out. What would be the case if the input current exceeded the output current? Let's just imagine that we have 10 amps here, and I have 5 amps here. That's a problem, right? Because what that means is that I have this current that's going through this device. I have 10 amps coming in and 5 amps going out. That means that 5 amps of current is going somewhere else. And most likely, it's going through you. And so what this does is it asks the question, this ammeter asks the question all the time, does input current exceed output current? And if that's the case, if I have more current coming in than going out, then I know that I'm losing some current somewhere, which is very, very bad, and you want to turn off the device, and it will turn off that device. There are also some buttons here. These ammeters can fail, and so these buttons, you're supposed to test them once every month. So you do a test and reset. Also, if you have a GFCI, you have this GFCI hooked up, any outlet that follows in the circuit is also protected by that same GFCI. So if you have multiple outlets on a circuit, like say you have 2 or 3 outlets in your bathroom, probably the first one is the one that looks like a GFCI, and then all the others are just normal looking outlets. But those normal looking outlets are still protected by the GFCI, this ground fault circuit interrupt, on that first outlet. And you can see that if you test that first outlet, it will make all the other outlets go dead until you reset it. All right, so that's the GFCI. There are a couple of quick test questions, and that's the end of Chapter 4. Chapter 4 is a long chapter with lots of stuff in it. But as I've told you, the next test will include likely, well, all of Chapter 4, of course, and then also perhaps all of Chapter 5. All right.